All right, guys, today's match lesson is brought to you by Atlas Gunworks because we're going to talk about shooting a very fast pistol absolutely on the edge and what it looks like when you step over the edge. So I shot this match pretty well. I was pretty darn happy with how I shot overall. You know, I had some mistakes that dropped me down. Essentially, each stage where I had a mistake dropped me down a place. And then I had one stage where I had a big rifle malfunction that dropped me down like 3 places. So, you know, I shot well and I just stepped just over the line a couple times. And this is an example of that. So, ended up shooting the Erebus in this match. I got a loaner from Atlas that I had put about 700 rounds through before the match. And I was able to shoot it really aggressively, like maybe more aggressively than I was quite ready for. And there were a couple spots where I essentially shot it a little bit faster than I could actually see. It just sort of like lured me into a false sense of security. And so this stage was one of those places. So shot some paper here, some steel down here. This was one of those spots where I had to step right because there's a little tiny plate behind that barrel that's to the left back in here. So this barrel right there has a little plate behind it. And I wanted to get some movement done, but I didn't want to shoot these plates on the move. So I shot the plates and then did the movement during the paper. Shot that, shot in the back here. And I want you guys to hear the split. So this was a 50-yard, probably more like 45, about a 45-yard 10-inch plate in the back there that I shot. And I want you guys to hear the pace. And that was it. So really fast and aggressive on that. Shot through there, did a reload, came in here. And then this sequence is where it all kind of went to hell. So these paper targets down here, I shot the one on the left on the way in because I could sort of shoot that on the way in on the move. Then when I was stable, I shot the one on the right. Then you had this triple plate rack, and then you had this plate way out there. So that was a 10-inch plate at about 60, 65 yards, something like that. It was quite a poke. And the way that I decided to shoot this, so there was 2 ways to do this. You could either shoot it here, and the way that it presented visually is it almost looked like it was the third plate on the plate rack. So where I was standing, these 4 plates kind of appeared side by side. And then they appeared again later on where you could, in theory, shoot them with the rifle. So you could dump your rifle and just shoot them with the rifle right there. I didn't want to do that because I wanted to be able to start moving out of this position. And you could also shoot them with the rifle right here as you shot this last piece of paper. I also didn't want to do that because as I was shooting through here, you can just sort of like step back, sling a couple at that paper, and then leave the position. And I didn't really want to come to a complete stop. So I figured, you know what, if I can pull this off, I'm better off shooting across this plate rack and then shooting that plate right there, dumping the pistol. And then all it cost me is like a 3/10 transition off of this plate instead of a full stop here, which probably would have been at least a second, or a full stop here, which probably would have been at least 3/4 of a second. So I'm really trying to shave tenths at this point. Now, what ended up happening was I shot across these 3 plates. I shot the first 2 plates. I hit the third plate. I just edged it. And the plate sort of stood up for just a split second and then fell back down. And I was shooting so aggressively and I hit the next plate so quickly that I never noticed that happened. So here is that whole sequence. And as you can see, it all went really quick. I just edged the plate. When I zoom in on the video, you can see like a little tiny nick just appear and the plate sort of move. I called a good shot, but I shot everything so fast, I ended up not hitting that plate. So I dumped the pistol, pulled up the rifle, shot through there, came down here, shot some long-range rifle that went pretty darn good. And it was one of the classic, like, you know, the dude holding the timer at the end went, wow, that was a super fast time, fastest we've seen all day. And then the scorekeeper comes up behind and goes, yeah, you didn't shoot that last plate. So my, I think it was a 45-second stage turned into a 55-second stage, but it was a 91% stage that turned into a 75% stage. So hurt a lot. Now, I don't regret anything about that. You know, I regret that I edged the plate and I didn't quite see it happen. But, you know, if you're trying to win these big matches, like you kind of have to shoot this aggressive sort of all the time. I mean, as aggressive as this was, it was still only a 90% stage or 91% stage. And I think the reason is I don't think I moved on these quite as aggressively as I could have. And then when he got up on the rifle here, I had a little bobble. I shot across the paper, shot that last piece, and I started to like go down onto the roof, and I realized I didn't see a sight picture on the last shot, squared up and shot it again. So that was probably like a 2-second screw up right there, just taking that one extra shot. And I mean, that was probably like 7% on this stage. Like I think the winning stage time was like low 40s or something like that. And yeah, I mean, you basically just have to shoot this aggressive all the time. So this is what happens when you step across the line. You do really well, you edge something, you move on, you thought you got it, you get to the end, and they're like, hey, that second place finish on the stage, that's now like a 25th place finish. So sorry about that.